Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For the honor of the Commander of the Faithful, Ali ibn Abi Talib, recited salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. 9th of Rabiul Awwal, and this great and blessed Eid Mubarak to all of my dear brothers and sisters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enjoy all of our hearts to the love of Ahlul Bayt, especially Amir al-Mu'min Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إلهنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أعداء الله من الآن إلى لقاء يوم الدين. قال الله الحكيم في القرآن الكريم إن الإنسان خلق هلوعا إذا مسه الشر جزوعا وإذا مسه الخير منوعا إلا المصلين صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the honor of Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha and her family Ahlul Bayt, recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As you know, the 9th of Rabi, as today basically after the Maghrib and Isha prayers is officially the end of the day of the Shahada, there are a couple of historical events which considered to be joyous for the follower of the school of Ahlul Bayt. Thank you. First is the beginning of the Imamah of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, because after the Shahada of Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, this is the reign of the Imamah of Hazrat Hujjah started. So that is the reason of celebration for the follower of the school of Ahlul Bayt, especially for us because we are subjects and Shia of Imam of our time, inshallah. Another one is that is anniversary of a day that Umar ibn Sa'd and other killers of Shuhada Karbala, and according to one historical report, were punished by Mukhtar, and that news, which was the avenge of the Madhlumeen of Karbala, was a reason of joy for the Ahlul Bayt. Even when we have that Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, when he heard the news, he praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thanked him for that news as well. That was another reason of joy. There are other probably explanation for it as well, but these are the two major ones that usually is being discussed among the ulama and the scholars, but there could be other reasons for celebration as well. But the most important one is the beginning of the Imam of our time. Because that is a reminder for all of us. It is important to know that following the Imam is something to be proud of, and being a Shia of Ahlul Bayt, especially Imam of our time, is a way to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're blessed enough, fortunate enough to have the guidance of an infallible, have a guidance of a proof and hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For that we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We renew our covenant, our promise and allegiance to Imam of our time, that we say to Imam of our time that we believe in him as a proof of God, we believe him as a leader, and we're ready to follow him, we're ready to implement his commands in our daily lives, and make sure whenever is the time that he return, we will be one of those who say labbaik ya Mahdi inshaAllah. With the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It is important to understand that one understanding of return of the Imam is that we are waiting for the Imam to come, and then after that we will do something. So that is very common even among some of the followers of the school of Ahlul Bayt. It's more of a waqifiyya mentality, that we're going to stop here, we're not going to move forward anymore because of the Imam of our time is not here. The reality is that the concept of the word, even literally the word Imam means the one who leads. And one thing we learn from the Imam is that the responsibility of the followers, the Shia, is to walk behind the Imam, right? And that is the justification of this mentality. There are some mentality that they have, this ideology have name. They have, for example, Hujjatiyya, have some activity in the past and even recently as well. But they're not noticeably carrying the name Hujjatiyya with them. And what they're preaching is, at the time of occultation, you should not do anything. It is forbidden to do any active practice or planning in order to do something for religion, because we are a Shia, we have to wait for the Imam to lead, and then we have to walk behind the Imam. And even they use the ayah, thank you. They use the ayah, لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله as well. So you should not walk ahead of the Prophet and Allah. And the same thing about the successor of the Prophet, which means that you have to wait for them to lead and you follow. This is a misunderstanding, going back to our last night subject of sometimes a hadith and ayah has to be understood properly. We have to reflect before just copy pasting it and said, okay, this is it, and exactly this is the way this ayah tried to teach us something. And that is that in the matter of, we should not go ahead, we should not supersede ahead of Allah and the Prophet in a matter of ideology. What it means that we cannot add something to the rules of Islam, we cannot add a halal or haram to the religion unless there is a command from Allah or the Prophet of Allah. In that matter, we have to follow behind the Prophet. But when it comes to the field of practice, a leader is not the one who should be the one to put his life in the front line. When we look at the life of the Prophet as an example, in the battles that Rasulullah participated, who is in the front line? Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Hamza to Sayyid al-Shuhada is in the front line. Ideologically, they're following the Prophet, but in the battlefield, others, the soldiers, have to be in the front, and the leader is the one who, his job is to lead the masses. Same thing for Abu Abdullah and Hussein alayhi salam. Ideologically, the Shia of Abu Abdullah in the day of Ashura, they followed the message of Abu Abdullah. They didn't add anything. They did not try to go ahead of the Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to say something in the name of religion. They followed Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But when it comes to the battle, as long as the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was alive, they were alive, not even one of the Bani Hashim and family of Imam Hussein went to the battle. And they said it themselves. They decided that if we're here, Imam is not going to go to the battle. Based on that ideology, we have to differentiate when it comes to practice and when it comes to ideology. In ideology, we are followers. In practice, we are the one, we have to implement the ideology that is being taught by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, including Imam of our time. That if we say Allahumma ajjal li waliyyik al-faraj for the return of Imam of our time, our responsibility is to be, inshallah, Habib, Hur, Zuhair, to be in the front line, and then the Imam comes to lead us. Not that we're waiting behind and we're waiting for the Imam to do everything for us. That is the lack of understanding of the whole purpose of the Imam. Imam needs people to lead, right? If people don't follow the lead of the Imam, that's what happened in the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He is the proof of Allah, he is the Imam, even if people deny his worthy status. But if people don't follow him, it end up more than 20 years of silence. It is the same thing about Imam of our time. That the shortage, the problem is not coming from the Imam in this time. It's from our aspect. That if we are ready, Imam will come. If we are in the right place, Imam will come. Imam is ready. We're not waiting for the Imam to get ready to come back. So based on that, it is important to promote this idea of pragmatism and activism in our religion. Dua and supplication has its own place in our religion, but ultimately the greatest, in my opinion, this is an infiltration within our faith by ignorant friends and wise enemies to teach us that we have to do nothing. Put your hand, sit on your hand, do nothing. Imam will come and fix everything. And we are self-sabotaging even our own efforts sometimes because of that. If there is a failure, if there are problems, and if there are obstacles in our path, we say, oh, the reason is because Imam is not here, your effort is not going to go anywhere. And that should not be the case. And this hadith of the Imam of our time, it become more evident that why Imam said what he said. This is a hadith from Imam Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Fajr Sharif. Recite the salawat. That Imam alayhi salam said, لَقَدْ آذَانَا حُمَقَاءُ الشِّيعَةِ or جُهَلَاءُ الشِّيعَةِ وَحُمَقَاؤُهُم. Indeed, the most amount of bother, annoyment came to us from the ignorant Shia and their fools. Adhana come from adhiya, to be tortured, to be bothered. Who did it? Indeed, لَقَدْ آذَانَا حُمَقَاءُ الشِّيعَةِ وَجُهَلَاؤُهُم. Those who preach the message of Imam of our time backward. Instead of promoting people to actively provide a platform for the Imam of our time to come to create more problem in the system. In the name of our tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the damage that we cause in that matter is much greater. As Imam alayhi salam beautifully said, that stay away from juhala and ignorance and fools, because their intention is to do good, to benefit you, but they end up causing more harm toward you. The good intention is important. Don't take me wrong. It is very important to have well intention. But the biggest problem we have that people with the greatest of intention sometimes do the most horrible action. And those people, how they justified their bad execution of their niyyah, how they do it? Al-a'malu. There's this hadith that everybody, by the way, know. Your actions are based on your intention, which is a hadith from the Prophet. But implementing this hadith is exactly backward. Let's say somebody wants to do amr bil ma'ruf. Their niyyah is khair, right? But they do it in the worst possible way. They make somebody, instead of, the whole purpose of amr bil ma'ruf nahy anil munkar is to guide someone, right? That your niyyah is khair, you advise them, your purpose is to guide them. They end up causing more damage in the name of hidayah. And they say, my niyyah was khair, right? My intention was khair. That famous, there's a story they call this kind of friendship, the friendship of the bear. He said that, in Khalil and Dimna is a famous book, as personification. There are animals, stories with, ethical and moral stories. And they said there was, in one of the stories, that there was a man, a human being who was friend with a bird for many years. Imagine, it's a talking bird, by the way. And after years of friendship, one day they heard that the bear smashed the head of the human being. They got the bear and they said, what's wrong with you? You've been friend for many years. What happened to you? Your animalistic side, your instinct take over. What did you smash his head with a boulder? He said, my intention was khair. So what do you mean? He said, my human friend was sleeping, and was this fly bothering him around his head, and the fly sat down on his nose, and I said, okay, how can I get rid of this fly? I had this boulder on the side, so I tried to smash the fly, but I smashed the head with the fly. This is what people do, unfortunately, sometimes. It's a metaphor, that their intention is to do good. I give you examples. People, I can tell you how many times people who give marriage counseling in the worst possible way. People, they vent, they complain. They come to you, it could be a man or woman, husband or wife. They complain about something. And instead of encouraging them, at least if you don't know the right answer, if you don't know how to guide them, stay quiet, just listen. Just be, They call, the patience rock. Just you listen. That's it. But no, sometimes people go out of their way. Their intention is khair as well. So, all men are like this. All men are like this. A woman, you can't trust a woman. This is the advice they actually give. And this causes more problem. And their intention is not to break up or cause, a friction in the relationship. Their intention is khair, but they cause more damage. And this is unfortunately the case. Even scholars, even people who are leaders of communities, sometimes they make this mistake. I give you this example because it's very personal to me. In the past, when I get a call for anything, if let's say I wasn't getting an invitation to talk somewhere, I used to not ask so many questions. Okay, where is it? I'm going to inshallah be as a khair, right? My intention is khair, I'm going to do tabligh, right? I'm going to preach. But one bad experience was that somebody invited me, and their intention of inviting me was to undermine another person. That person invited another speaker. He invited me, and we end up having two speakers, and that was a conflict. So we end up, alhamdulillah, that two sheikh, we were the two, we end up resolving the issue, but there was a problem within the community. Within the community. And my intention was khair. So after that time, when people ask me, I make sure double check, triple check, that I'm not being used as a pawn in their game. But this is a reality that happens. Same thing about any form of advice. Sometimes you become part of the problem without being aware of it. So intention has to be pure, no doubt. We have to be sincere. We must have what we call ikhlas and niyyah. But execution is as important as niyyah. How to do it properly as well. Don't go, we have that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam saw a man who stole some apples, and then he gave it to poor people, right? And then Imam asked him, what are you doing? You've been stealing, and then you give it for charity? And he said, I read Quran. Quran said if you are doing something good, فَلَهُ عَشْرَ أَمْثَالِهَا. If you, give charity, for example, Allah will reward you 10 times more, right? When you commit a sin, Allah will, فَلَهُ مِثْلُهَا is going to be just one. So I did math, and in my math, I end up, gaining something. I steal, I commit one sin. I give it in charity. I gain 10. 10 minus 1 is 9, and so I have 9 thawab at the end. My intention is khair, Robin Hood mentality, right? That's good. And Imam alayhi salam said, that's right, but you forgot that what you're giving has to be yours in order to gain 10 times back. That thawab of charity is not yours, it's belonging to the owner that you stole it from, so you end up with -1 anyway. You lost. That's what the jahl is. The execution has to match the intention as well. Let me give you one example. One of the example of niyyah that has to match the execution. Quran talks about masjid. There are 2 masjid built in Medina. There's Masjid al-Quba or Qaba, and then we have Masjid al-Dhirar. Both mosque. But Allah said one ussisa ala taqwa min awwali yawm. One was built based on piety and God consciousness from the first day. Another one was just a cover-up, was for hypocrites to have a place to gather and plot against Muslims. Both look masjid, and at the surface they're exactly the same thing. But the intention behind them are not the same. So intention execution has to match. One example of that I want to say, and how, if that's the case, how fruitful that will be. If our intention is well, and our execution and our action also match it, it will be the most fruitful action ever. One of them is the Masjid al-Harshad. Harshad Masjid is next to Imam Zaali's Ziyarah shrine. And this was built by a woman. Her name was Harshad. And the intention and the plan was that because a lot of visitors used to come, and the Ziyarah was small, and some of them need to stay somewhere, and they wanted to eventually expand this space. So, okay, let's build a mosque. She was the one who said, I will build this mosque. But she made a condition that my intention is khair, right? We're going to build a masjid. That's a khair intention. But the way we're going to execute this has to be khair as well. And by the way, even today, one of the most, in my opinion, blessed masjids in the entire world is Masjid Abu Harshad. Because when you go any time of the day or night, there's something good happening there. There's prayers, there are student debating and talking, there's education, there are circles of Q&A, there are jama'ah prayers in the time of salat. Is a living masjid. You don't go one time, 24 hours, that you see this space is unused. There's something good happening there. From seeking knowledge to worship and ibadah. And there's so many other areas built around the Imam Rizal, but none of them is like Abu Harshad. Even the participants are not that much in other centuries. And my opinion is because of that niyyah. Because she said we're going to build the masjid, but we're going to do it properly. Number one, she said, okay, we have to buy the lands in order to build the masjid. Make sure anybody who's not willing to sell the land, nobody has to be forced to sell the land. They have to willingly be able to sell their land. So we have them start purchasing, they give them the money they wanted. Everybody was satisfied except one woman. One old woman did not sell her house. Whatever they offered, she said, I'm old, I have no one, I don't want to move, this is my place. And her house was in the middle. And she said, okay, if she doesn't want to sell, build the masjid around her house without disturbing her. And they did. They built a masjid with her house being in the middle. Eventually, at the end of her life, she made a waqf. She donated her house to be part of the masjid. But for the time that she was alive, that house was in the middle of the masjid. My intention is khair, but I cannot take over someone's property. So she executed properly, number one. Number two said, in the process of making this building, all the workers has to be paid fully. We have to follow the hadith of Ahlul Bayt, especially Imam alayhi salam, that you pay the labor worker, pay the worker before their sweat goes dry, right? Pay them on time, even earlier than that. She said we have to do this. And don't force a worker to work more than their ability. Give them rest, give them breaks. Even animals that they are going to carry construction material, they should not be abused. She made that a condition in the process of making this masjid. That no animal has to be abused in the name of building a masjid. And they did that. And that masjid was built, and today that masjid still exists with the same name. Go Harshad Masjid. An intention that match the execution. If you have the best of intention, the goal doesn't justify the mean. We cannot say because I have a noble goal, we can't do it any way we want. Make sure that's the case. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to have the ability to reflect before doing something, because it's required to think about our action as well as what we say. Imagine if Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam said, you have to think before talking. That the difference between ignorant and wise is that the ignorant speaks first and then they think about it. But the wise is the one who reflects first and then they talk. If somebody in a matter of speech talk about reflection, definitely about action, it requires thinking. If you want to do anything good, please, first of all, write it down. غَلِّقِ الْعِلْمَ بِالْكِتَابِ, Imam Ali alayhi salam said, put your knowledge and wisdom in chain with writing it down. And then when it comes to actually practicing and execution, with reflection, that could happen. To make sure we consider all the possible different angles, all the possible outcome, and based on that, make sure that our action plan is something that will be in the same direction as our niyyah, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Both are important, as I said. There is this, that the best of action, if the niyyah is corrupt, even if it's well put, well executed, it will have no value. What is the intention? What is the action? They have to have a relationship. So the hadith we started last night, it was regarding 7 action plan by Rasulullah to Salman al-Farisi, also narrated from Abada as well. I mentioned two of them, which was about comparison. انظر إلى من هو دوني ولا انظر إلى من هو فوقي. And as I said, that's about materialistic world. When it comes to dunya, don't compare yourself with the people who are more fortunate, because you will be less happy about it. You will be less thankful about what you have. But when it comes to spiritual world, when it comes to our ma'nawiyya, we have to compare ourselves with the people who are above us. To find courage, to find determination in order to look up to the people who are good in ma'nawiyya and spirituality. And usually, as I said, I was talking to someone and I said, in the spirituality, we don't get jealous if somebody is better than us. Nobody's jealous of Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. Nobody's jealous of, ulama and scholars who are dedicated for the cause of Allah. But when it comes to dunya, jealousies start to grow. When is the dunya? When is the matter of dunya? One of the reasons that people have so much focus about evil eye, and by the way, alhamdulillah, everybody pay attention to this gentleman, reciting another salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. Now let him be, but you please pay attention to me. He's not the problem, you are. So, when it comes to the dunya, that's the part that jealousy start to grow. Evil eye, people are so concerned about it because of jealousy. And people, unfortunately, sometimes go to extreme, unhealthy thinking, that any problem happens in our lives, we think is evil eye. Even if we are responsible for an accident, it was evil eye. People's eyes are chasing us. It's because of their eye that this happened. The amount of power we believe that evil eye has is more than, God forbid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes. I tell people, rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Say, I seek refuge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the Lord of mankind. To trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll be fine. But I said, no, I know I will recite those, but is there anything else to do? And it's not necessary to be obsessed that much with it. In comparison, be aware of it. There are unfortunately failed parenting instructions. One of them is this mentality of comparing. And we have to change that. In relationship, we have to change that in order to get a better result in upbringing of our children. Number two was, as I said, compare yourself with the people who are less fortunate. We need to do that. We need to remember those who are less fortunate. Because if we disassociate ourselves with them, we will never feel fulfilled. We will never feel that we have anything. As Quran in Surah Al-Fajr, Allah clearly said, وَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانِ إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِ. When a human being is being honored, when Allah give him blessing, extending their provision and sustenance, they think that God respected them, God honored them. وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِ. But when the rizq and sustenance get a bit tighter, they think that God insulted them. Because in their mentality, how much of blessing you have, it means how much Allah loves you. And Allah said this is the wrong understanding of the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the universe. If people who have easy life, it means that they're good people, and people who have a difficult life, it means they're bad people. You cannot see that, in the life of Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet. The most difficult life usually you see in the life of awliya Allah. If it's Musa alayhi salam, if it's Ibrahim alayhi salam, if it's our Prophet, you see that they are the one that they bothered the most, tortured the most, that God hurt the most. And they are the one the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how much blessing we have is nothing to do with how much respect we have before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that takes time to understand, to think about. If we understand that, it will, resolve the issue. One of the problem we have with the younger generation, and I said younger generation, I'm referring to the people even in their 20s and 30s, is that because of the time that we live in, There was, again, a lot failed mechanism in our upbringing, unfortunately. They were implemented in the wrong way. One of the wrong teaching that, unfortunately, this is more of a 90s and 80s thing that came to the tarbiyah, is that this idea, tell your children that you can do whatever you want. Sky is the limit. You know? Giving some form of that you could be best of the best in everything. One of the reasons that some of our children are not happy is because of this way of the upbringing. What I'm saying is that when you say this to your child, you could be the best in everything. Put your hard work in something and you will be the best. There are matters that they can put all their efforts in, then they still, because of different reasons. It could be talent, it could be intelligent, it could be different environment, it could be a lot of these reasons. You cannot be top of everything. If that was the case, there will be no honors level, there will be no all these testing systems that we have, which they're not fair, they're not just, but they exist. And because of that, not every person will be in the same position. And that basically led to disappointment of our children and even us. Even in our communities, we see that when it comes to the mic, to recite, there's sometimes competition. We want to recite. We want to say something. Let us be the one, say something, recite something. Why is that? Why is it so important to us to be in that position? It goes back, as I said, to one of the wrong way of tarbiyah. We have in the time of the Holy Prophet, a man came to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, I have a son, and what should I do? What is the best way to raise him? Rasulullah said, put him with a teacher to learn, so to seek knowledge. He came back after a while and said, Ya Rasulullah, I tried, but he's very distracted. He doesn't have any investment, any courage, any motivation to study. Rasulullah said, change the teacher. Maybe that's not the right place, change it. He did it, but came back again. And Rasulullah advised him to do it again. And after the third time, trying different patterns at the time, Rasulullah said, if he doesn't have any courage to seek knowledge, put him somewhere to learn a skill. Acquire some form of skills in some work. If he doesn't have let's say interest in that field, let him learn something else. In our communities, we don't have that. If you're from a Desi community, most probably the only option you have, what is it? Doctors and engineers. That's it. You're done. Humanities, God forbid, Don't talk about humanities. Tell me that you want to be a homeless man. That's better than you want to study humanities. And sometimes people have no interest in it. We limited their choice. And I said, then we complained that why our community, we need good authors. I mentioned this. We need good authors, writers. We don't have it because nobody actually studied that professionally. Our kids love reading Harry Potter and love reading, all these fiction books. What is one good book that was written by somebody who has at least a religious identity? We have some, but professionally, not that many seek that path. Because it's not an option. We don't look at the skills, we don't look at the talent, we look at that this person could have a specific skill in something. A lot of our Sunday school and weekend school books, the graphics, I don't know why even we call them graphics, the drawings. I hope that what they did was they said, okay, let's just put the drawing of 5 years old and 7 years old in the book in order to say, we incorporate their skills. But the drawing is not anything that, any child at that age wants to look at. Yes, there's some initiative, alhamdulillah, Kisab books are working on that. I've seen it. There's good initiatives. But this has to be done 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We had this community for at least 20, 30 years. But we're behind. And one of the reasons we're behind is going back to that mentality that, oh, you should be best of this in this field. And success only means this. And if our child get a bad grade in something, it means they're not good at anything. They have skills for nothing. In Hausa, when you go to Hausa, they tell you that, look, not everybody could, be an expert of every field. Some people do good in tafsir. You go to and work on tafsir. Some people are good in fiqh. They work in fiqh, become faqih. Some good in philosophy. There is one field that you can become an expert of. And you have to choose that. And in daily lives, that's the same exact story. Hausa doesn't dictate that. A student has to find that path themselves. They have to look for that. They have to go trials and errors, make sure which one is the right path. Even khataba, giving lectures and speakers. Not every scholar, not every ruhani and sheikh give lectures. Some of them are researchers. They like to just write. They're not, in their own opinion, a right match for giving lectures. And that's fine. That goes back to our upbringing. That's, I think, one of the issues with this generation. This lie that we were told, that you are the best at everything. No, that's not true. And we should be okay with that. تِلْكَ الرُّسُلُ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Allah said even the prophets of God, some of them had a position higher than others, and that's fine. Even the prophets of God are not in the same status. And as human beings, that should be fine that we stand in different levels. And finding that satisfaction wherever we are with our own position. And don't feel like failures. That because I'm not like other people, because I'm not in the specific place that others are, I should consider myself a failure, God forbid. Second issue is the lack of patience. Is another issue I see is with our generation. And this is eventually is a viral issue coming to elders as well. Because of instant gratification, right? We get the result right away. One of the reasons cell phones are so addictive is because of that. Is the moment you hit a click, there is a response. It doesn't. I promise you, if Apple would have done a better job and put that, the whole delay process of making sure the battery getting older and your device getting older. If you hit a button and it takes you, let's say, 5 minutes to load an app, I promise you will not be as addicted to your phone. We are, because when you initiate a form of whatever is the button or app, there's a right away instant result. And then in my lecture, I'm talking about a topic that it requires 10 years of patience to get the result. Which one do you think is more interesting? Shaykh said, if you follow this 7 action plan, inshallah, in a matter of few years, you will get the result. But when I do this, there's no need for it to be patient. I get the result right now. And because this generation also, we are servants of our children. Immigrants' parents especially. There was a generation that, probably we're talking about those who came from Middle East, that parents were the masters. Whatever they say, they were basically the rulers of the house, right? Even if you were 30 years old, if your dad tell you sit down, you should have sit down. You better sit down. That was the case in Middle East. Even today, you could be in your 40s and still you have to have that level of respect and fear from your dad and your parents in general. Here we switch the role. Whatever the child said, we're ready to listen. Whatever the child says. One of the complaints I heard from Islamic schools, I've been in Houston, they have a full-time school over there, and even here, and even in LA, we have full-time school, Muslim schools, is that they complain about the parents' expectation. Because what they expect is if our teachers give a bad grade to their student, because we are a Muslim school and they know us, they know the faculty, they come complaining, knocking at the door, why did you give this bad grade to my son or my daughter? And you tell them, they said no, and they argue with you. They argue with you for 30 minutes, 1 hour. If they used to go to public school, they will never go to that public school. But because now is a platform that we know, is a masjid that we know, and if you contribute financially, we think, okay, This is like a restaurant, right? We're paying, we don't like who's the manager, right? We like that. Customer service is not good. We think that the school is like that as well. And that leads to problem. This instant gratification, unfortunately, comes to this idea that our children, whatever they say is right. If they come complaining to our house, we don't even think twice that maybe what they're saying is because they're children. Of course they blame others. Adults blame other people. Of course children are going to blame their teachers. I know college students who blame their teachers for their bad grades. And that's not a new thing. But because the role were switched, now the children are masters. Children are masters. What do you want, my son? What do you like? And I've seen that we follow them. We follow them. Yes, I know the hadith of the Prophet from 1 to 7. Your child is your amir, is your master. Listen to them. But after 7, I see people chasing their, 7 to 14 years old as well. Discipline is very hard to find. Imam alayhi salam said, "La ara al-jahila illa mufritan aw mufarrata." Ignorant is always an extreme side of the spectrum. They're extremists or they're negligent. They do it too much, more than what they have to do, or they're neglecting what they have to do. This is what happens. The old time, they used to beat up their children. Whatever, even if their parents were wrong, sometimes they would beat their children, discipline. In the name of discipline, they would, unfortunately, have no control over their anger, no tarbiyah. It was more of just whatever they wanted to do. That was a wrong way of parenting. That was one extreme. Now we have an other side, no discipline at all. I can tell you how many times I go to, people's invited me to their house with family, and you see children are destroying the house of the host, breaking stuff, smashing stuff, and parents are just sitting and smiling and nodding. And once I told them, I said, this is the time you have to go and, sit with your child. I said, no, Sheikh, this is a time for them to explore. And I said, please do it at your own house. Let them break your stuff, not somebody else's house. Or even running in the masjid. I understand, younger children, that's fine. But when you get older, we have to teach them the discipline. It doesn't come out of nowhere. Reason is very important. Akhlaq and well manners is very important. But discipline is also important. Sometimes a child has to be told, my son, when you see somebody's praying, don't run in front of them. That has to be taught. And we don't like somebody else to say that to our child, and that's understandable. But we cannot wait for some miraculous phenomena to change the situation for us. We have to do something. Akhlaq is important. Discipline is also important. The greatest treasure, as Imam Ali has said, the greatest inheritance that parents can leave for their children is discipline. Adab, Imam Ali alayhi salam said. Do it right. Don't go to the extreme. Don't go to negligence either. Recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The third one, Rasulullah said to Salman, "An uhibba al-fuqara wa adnuwa minhum," to love poor people and have their companionship. So number one was cognitive level. Thinking, stop comparing yourself and others with more fortunate in dunya. Compare yourself with the less fortunate. That was number 1 and 2. Number 3, Rasulullah said to Salman to love poor people. أحب الفقراء, those who are deprived. وأدنو منهم, dunuv means closeness, hang out with them. This is very relevant in America especially. Relationships in America is based on networking. We talk to people because we expect to create a network and that later on we can reap the benefit of, right? This person, works in Visa or Intel or Apple. Later on I need some, channel to get in, that's good. That's not haram, by the way. That's fine. I understand the way the business world works. I'm not here to stop that. But sometimes what that does is just make us look at people as tools. We only look for people that, which one can benefit me. And if somebody is sitting next to me who have no benefit of dunya, we ignore them. It's like they're shadows. What Islam, this is what, we had a Muslim day, basically open mosque day. And I asked some of them at the end, said, okay, you came to our community, you hang out with people. What was one thing, if you want to say, was interesting? We would say is monotheism or, tawheed or nubuwwah, none of that. So what was interesting to me that you guys, I know that one of you is a doctor and one of you is working at 7-Eleven, but they hang out with each other. That I see this brotherhood between you, this closeness. That's interesting to me. That you're very close, you hug each other. The musafaha, right? That ukhuwah exists. And sometimes in this mentality of capitalism is about capital. Which one can gain something from me? And this hadith of the Prophet is important to love poor people, to love human beings for their humanity, a mu'min for their iman, not for what they accomplish, not for the position, not for the degree, for their iman. God forbid some of us, if Salman and Abadar were living at our time, they would have been ignored by some of us. They were not rich people. One of them was an immigrant coming from a strange world. And he has no family, no ancestors, no ansab or nothing like Salman, right? Oh, he's a nobody. And أُحِبَّ الْفُقَرَاءَ وَأَدْنُوَ مِنْهُمْ. That's the key. If you want to test our iman, see if we can love people not because of their dunya and accomplishment, just because of their iman. Just because of their iman. And the love is not enough. You have to hang out with them. So next time when you come to SABA, you see somebody that they're not accomplished like you are, whatever is the meaning of accomplished in your opinion, go talk to them. Have a tea with them. Have your food with them. Leave your, known circle that you always hang out with. Talk to somebody new. Put yourself in that uncomfortable position. That's the action plan of the Prophet. And go to the person that we look at their style as well. Alhamdulillah, not everybody knows about the brand as well, right? What they're wearing. Forget about the brand. Just go based on, as I said, the zahir. Number 4, an aqul al-haq walau kana murra. Prophet said to Salman, the step number 4, the action plan number 4 is to say the truth even if it's bitter, even if it's unpleasant. That doesn't mean to be rude or disrespectful. That means if it costs you something to say the truth, say the truth. The problem with the hadith, again, this interpretation and understanding the hadith backward is killing me. When you say this hadith, somebody actually used this hadith against me. How is that? I mentioned this hadith a few years ago. And somebody, after the majlis, very, very disrespectfully was talking to somebody that they're doing something wrong or they have to, I think it was referring to their parking, how they park the car and all that. That, you have no manners, you should have some civility, and just going hard at this poor guy because he parked not in, somehow blocking his car. And I went to and said, okay, calm down. There's no need to make a scene. You have to say it privately. That's not a big issue. So, no, Sheikh, you just said in the lecture, say the truth even if it's bitter. And I said, when it's bitter for you, not for other people. When it's for other people, it's easy to say it. When you don't want to, it's always easy to spare your own feeling. It's very easy to spare other people's feeling. It's very difficult to spare your own feeling. Murra, bitterness is something you taste, right? It's about my taste. Say the truth even if it's unpleasant to you. Why you're late? I was not in traffic. I did not have an important meeting. I was asleep. Can't you say that to somebody while you were late? That's the moment is bitter. To say, yes, I was late. I'm so sorry. I was sleeping. That's when it's bitter. Your wife is asking you, where are you? They call you on the phone, right? Where are you? So I'm at my mom's house. So, okay, just come earlier. Your mom is waiting here with me, wherever you are. Say the truth. Seems bitter for you. That is action plan. Because we have white lies, whatever is white lie. We justify lies. It's okay if I lie here. If it's okay if I lie there. For other people, please, no need to be truthful. If somebody, let's say, you don't like their style, or you don't like the way they talk or something, please don't be truthful. Don't be rude. Don't be disrespectful to them. Be mindful of their feeling. That's what Islam said about akhlaq. That's what mudaratun nas is, right? Mudaratun nas means be lenient, welcoming with people. And to be lenient, it means sometimes suppress whatever is inside your mind. Don't say what you think. Stay quiet. But when it comes to our own advantage, when it comes to our own interest, if saying the truth is going to cost us, that's the moment to test your truthfulness. That's the moment. That's number 4. To say the truth even if it's better. Number 5, I'm going to shall make a list and finish. Number 5, Rasulullah said, An asil rahimi walau kana mudbira. Salman said, Rasulullah told me to connect to my family, to my relatives, Saleh Rahim, even if they are the one who cut off from me. Mudbira means they are the one who stopped their relationship with me. Rasulullah said, still connect with them. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was a part of a very rich family in Mecca. When he converted to Islam, his family literally said, okay, you're not from, they denounced him, said, you're not part of our family, no inheritance for you, nothing. Return all you have. He was living a very, comfortable life. He was a kind of a prince. And now he has nothing because of Islam. He came to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, this is what my family did to me. What should I do? Rasulullah said, go to them. Visit your parents. Don't listen to them if they tell you to leave Islam. Beside that, spend time with them. That's what we say to converts as well. If you're a convert, that's fine. But doesn't mean stop going to your parents' house, stop visiting them. Do more than that. If you were not doing it enough in the time of pre-Islam time, do it more after that. That's what the way Islam transformed you and for better. Islam did not make you to feel, I'm better than them, I'm not going to go to my mom anymore. Relatives connecting with, in America again, individualism is growing harder and harder because of our, the cocoon we made. We love to have everything inside. Man caves. What are the man caves? We want everything inside. We create everything to be limited. And when you ask people, Shaykh Saleh Rahim is good, but we don't like drama. What do you mean by drama? I say, yeah, I want to visit my cousins and uncle and family and siblings and in-laws, but whenever I go, there is a drama. And I say, it's fine, that's part of a human being. So when it comes to drama, we love to watch drama, right? In TV shows, drama, everybody loves to watch it. But actually living it, no, we don't like it. And we consider every relationship to be the way we want. We go and visit our mom, everything has to be pleasant. They should not say anything, to hurt our feeling. That's the way life is. We cannot dictate what people have to say. They say what they say. How you react and how we respond, that's up to you and your control. And we have that in Sidi Rahim, connecting with family. There's a lot of benefit, including benefit for your physical health. When you're a social person, according to Islam, that will be one of the reasons to extend your life. Tul al-umr. So that's number 5, to connect with relatives, even if they are disconnecting ourselves. And in my opinion, family and religion are connected. The more and more you've invested in family, the more you will have a chance to protect and maintain your faith. If you give up on family, eventually you will give up on faith. There's a correlation between family and religion. That's the reason Saleh Rahim is being, وَذِي الْقُرْبَى, right? وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إحسانا ولذي القربى واليتامى. To do ihsan and good to your parents and your relative. Nepotism in a spirituality is good. Have family in the first of line in the matter of akhirah is good. Give sadaqah to family first. Give your zakat to family first. Give your khums if it's eligible to your family first. That's the way it should be. That's number, what was it? 5. To connect with our family even if they are the one disconnected. Number 6, Rasulullah said to Salman, La as'alun nasa shay'a. If it's possible, don't depend on people. Don't request things from people. That doesn't mean that we need to give up and live a life of monkery and isolation. It means that if it's possible to take care of your needs by yourself, do that. Don't be a burden on people's shoulder. La as'alun nasa shay'a. And this is the true way of the life of a mu'min. A mu'min is a reason of khair for other people. If it's possible to be patient and don't ask for loan, do that. If it's possible. Don't let this idea of breaking your integrity, your dignity become easy to you. Because when you ask somebody for help, when you are requesting, that is itself a form of putting your dignity a bit lower. If it's necessary to ask questions, you have to. Allah created people in order to be in need of one another. That's the way of Allah's rizq and Allah's system to work. That's the reason we need our parents to raise us. We need our spouse to be a protector for us. We are interconnected, interdependent. But at the same time, there are moments that we can take care of our own needs. That's the important part. Avoid becoming a burden. You have a disabled man came to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and said, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, can you give a bit more from public wealth and Baytul Mal because my hand doesn't work. His hand were disabled. And Imam alayhi salam told him, احمل على رأسك واغني عن الناس. Go use your head, carry luggage and all the other material with your head, and stay away from asking people. Being needless from people, if it's possible, do that. And we have that one of the people that before Allah don't have a lot of honor are the one that they beggars. Our responsibility is to answer beggars, those who ask for help. But the person who asks doesn't have a lot of status because they go to makhlooq instead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Understanding the right place, that's also important. Sometimes we need to talk to a doctor. That doesn't mean La as'alun nasa shay'a. You have to talk to a doctor. You have to talk to a therapist. You have to. That's the way the mean is. But sometimes, let's say I can pick this myself. Right? Let's say this month I did not make enough money, but I can balance my budget to don't spend as much as I used to spend. If it's possible, do that. وَلَا أَسْأَلُ النَّاسَ شَيْئًا. And the last one, action plan number 7, Rasulullah said to Salman, أن أقول لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. To say this dhikr and supplication Allah. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. There is no might, no power except in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which is a reminder that although we have this ability and power and energy to do things, but all these power is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That don't let this illusion come to you that, oh, you're in charge. You don't need God. If I'm the one, doing all these things myself, what's the need to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The la hawla wa la is the reminder that this power, this strength, this energy, this skill, this talent is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to be able to practice these 7, in my opinion, very practical, pragmatic teaching of the Holy Prophet to our lives, to learn from the Salman and to maintain these lessons for the rest of our lives. That they could be beneficial to our every situation. If you are single or married, old or young, man or woman. This is a beneficial lesson from the Holy Prophet. May Allah give us that tawfiq on the night of Eid to be practicing Muslims, to stand by what we believe. And may Allah hasten in the return of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, inshallah. And may Allah honor all of the maridan, all the ills who requested dua, especially Maulana Sayyid Abidi. As you know, his mother is in need of your dua, and all the other mu'mineen, and also mu'mineen in Yemen, in Syria, in Bahrain, in Afghanistan, Pakistan, anywhere in this corner of the world that there is a madloom, there is oppressed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to be assistant for the oppressed and to be a thorn in the eye of the oppressors and zalimeen, and give us the tawfiq to learn the message of Allah, to believe in the message of Allah, and to practice the message of Allah, inshaAllah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.